And we begin with that final farewell to a Detroit political legend.
It was a day of tears, memories, and even laughter as hundreds of people gathered to remember Congressman John Conyers.
Yeah, it was a funeral that drew people from all across the country. Everyone from former presidents to political leaders, Detroit sports legends, and even Motown stars. All of them paying honor to a man who dedicated his life to civil rights and serving the people of Michigan.
Chopper 7 live over the funeral procession. It is making the slow journey from Greater Grace Temple all the way to Detroit Memorial Park Cemetery in Warren, which will be the final resting place for Congressman Conyers.
And we have Team 7 coverage. Jim Kurtzner has more with the dignitaries coming through to pay their respects. But we begin with 7 Action News reporter Simon Shaquette live at Greater Grace Temple with the emotional homegoing. Simon.
Glenda, Allen, very powerful tributes taking place here at Greater Grace Temple. We heard from local, state, federal leaders, also from family members who recall a husband, father, and fighter for equal rights.
We are going to work with the family to do something the family wants and is proud of, that is a permanent memorial to this giant.
Sharing his admiration for the late Congressman John Conyers, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan speaking about the man who dedicated his life to public service and civil rights, a fighter who stood with Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to ensure a better life for all Americans.
Here's the thing why I will always love John Conyers. It wasn't that he had a once-in-a-generation intellect, which he did. Think about this. When in your professional career have you known an elected official to show up at a meeting to listen?
When he first went to Washington on our behalf in 1965 as an elected congressman, he took us with him. And he has taken us with him every day, every week, every month, and every year since.
In the U.S. Senate, representing the people of Michigan, Gary Peters also looking back over decades of service and how Conyers came to be known as a force in Washington, unwilling to settle for inequality.
To know Congressman Conyers was to know a living legend. His entire life revolved around fighting for those without a voice.
In the words of a former president, not only was Conyers a loving family man and a symbol for Detroit, but also someone who led by example during hard times when not everyone had access to voting.
We often forget that. John Conyers, a young congressman, that knew that Rosa Parks was in a fix. So he hired her.
Arts, music, political standpoint, manufacturing, economy, all those things that he fought for. Guess what? They happened.
Family members also tremendously proud of the congressman. They spoke passionately. Take a listen to what they had to say just moments ago.
He was just a really, really goofy, fun guy. Like, he was always smiling. I can count on one hand the amount of times I may have ever seen him like really, truly mad or upset.
We must honor them all by doing what we can to add to it and pay for those coming after us through our work. And know that our work, whatever it may be, is enough.
Don't feel sad for us. Don't feel sad for us. I feel sad for y'all, because y'all don't have nobody to fight for y'all no more.
No question, this entire community in mourning for a tremendous leader who will be missed. For now, we'll send it back to you.
A man who will be missed by so many people.
Reverend Wendell Anthony saying, who will shake the tree? You know, referring to John Conyers as the man who brings the fruit down to all of us. Who will shake the tree? Poignant moment at service. And Simon, thank you so much. We're going to turn it over now to 7 Action News reporter Jim Kurtzner with more on how the congressman made such an impact on all of us. Jim.
That's right, Glenda. This was a 5-hour service, a long tribute to a well-earned legacy. We talked with some of the people coming in here to Greater Grace Temple as it was going on and before it started, and that includes the current holder of the seat of the 13th Congressional District.
One of the things I loved about him is he consistently said jobs, justice, and peace, and he never wavered on that.
The procession into Greater Grace Temple included the congressman's family, his wife Monica, and their 2 sons.
John Conyers will be mourned by the streets of Detroit and America.
After the 9/11 attacks, the nation needed to heal. Congressman Conyers reached out right here in his home district to make that happen.
He came to Islamic House of Wisdom with so many friends and families, and we celebrated one day for peace.
In 1968, John Conyers went to work immediately after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to make King's birthday a national holiday. It finally happened 15 years later in 1983.
The reason it is a King holiday is because of John Conyers only. When Dr. King was killed, some rioted, some passed resolutions. He put it into legislation.
So many here say John Conyers' legacy cleared the way for them and for equal rights.
He created space for people like me to be able to step into roles to lead and serve in the community, and so I thank him for that legacy.
Being a part of the fabric of America, being a part of the fabric of the Constitution, he truly wanted all of us to be equal.
Now coming up next hour at 6, another national figure here told this crowd why John Conyers got his respect for what he didn't do. We'll see you with that next hour at 6. Glenda, a day that Congressman Detroit will never forget. People here saying he will never be replaced. There will never be another John Conyers.
Jim, he wore justice on his shoulders as if it were his own personal burden. Thank you so much for catching us up there. We have much more coverage ahead as Metro Detroit remembers John Conyers. At 6, Chuck Stokes will show us that special fraternity moment that helped shape Congressman John Conyers into the leader he became. And of course, you can watch all of the tributes on our website, WXYZ.com.